On today's Habitz Podcast, we've got Joeri Schilders sharing with us his good habits when it comes to facilitating virtual meetings. So thanks for joining us, Joeri. First things first, what qualifies you to be our guest expert when it comes to hosting virtual meetings?
Glad to be here, Mike. I've run more than 100 projects, innovation projects all over the world. And because of that, I have run probably about 1,000 different meetings, from strategy to building ideas to making decisions. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. That's how I learned. So
you're based in Singapore, so have most of these meetings been done virtually?
Well, particularly in the last 12 months. I've been working virtually for a while now, but particularly in the last 12 months, of course, everything has just gone online. And that's where I've been spending most of my time, right here in my own little studio.
So you must have attended a lot of meetings that haven't been run successfully. So what are some of the things that you see that people typically get wrong?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, before any kind of meeting, I think there's some basic things on having a clear agenda, knowing what the meeting is for, who's invited and why they are there, and then what the plan is to get them there. And this sounds really basic, but there's still meetings after so many years I see where people don't get these really basic things right. Now, amplified it to a virtual setting, people have now taken the same poor habits which I have in normal meetings and just apply them online. So a couple of bad habits, definitely a couple of bad habits that I see is not having a strong opener. I think one of the things of being online and being on video is you can't hijack people anymore. Before, I think if you had people in a meeting or let's say a conference, they would have paid money, or maybe you were the boss. So you couldn't really leave. But online, they kind of can. They can sit there and pretend that they're interested in the meeting, but be on WhatsApp or be on Facebook or something else. And one of the worst habits I see is people have a really weak opener. They'll start off with the typical, can everybody hear me? Yeah, are my slides up? Okay. Hi, everybody. It's just really slow and people lose attention. I mean, anybody who sits behind a computer all day will already have a shorter attention span than being in a room. So one of the worst things is just to start waffling and not having like a clear opener. I don't care whether it's a story or clear, here's what we're here to do, or even if it's like a little activity before, but that those first 10 seconds, 20 seconds will give people an idea what that whole meeting will be like.
So much like meeting a person in real life, like for the first time, it's what you do in the first sort of 10 seconds. It's your first impression. So if you set that standard early with a strong opener, then I suppose the rest of that meeting is going to be sort of better.
I think so. So that was the first bad habit. The second bad habit is talking at people rather than engaging them. Many meetings I see, and I attend many meetings and many conferences. So many people just talk at people. They talk through slides, and whether it's a decision making or strategy or planning, whatever it is, they talk through slides and look at those meetings. Like, you just wasted an hour of everybody's time. You could have just sent people a 5-minute video. So second bad habit is just talking at people rather than engaging them. It's already harder to engage on a screen because you don't see people. You lack your brain lacks a lot of information. And just by talking at people, you're making it just a lot more boring. And you're not involving people in the conversation. And I would argue that the reason you have a meeting in the first place is just because you want to get people actively engaged. And the third bad habit is just not knowing the tech enough. I don't think that the tech can fix a crappy session. So a nice camera or using a clever platform is not going to be a remedy for a poorly planned meeting. But it can get in the way, right? Because if you don't know how the camera works, if you can't get your microphone to work, or you don't see people, that will have an impact on the meeting. And very often people don't put enough time in the tech. Maybe because they're afraid of it, maybe because they say, I just don't understand this, or whatever the reason is. And what will happen is, because of that, all they will have is just a simple like video with slides going on in the background, which will make the meeting super boring again. So knowing your tech, knowing where the things are, be prepared for that.
I always think as well with meetings, especially when they're online, things like the right sound, making sure you've got a good microphone, you talk clearly and stuff like that as well. And sometimes that is a tech issue. You know, I see some people doing it with the iPhone microphone that you get, and it doesn't sound clear. It doesn't sound right. So
sounds horrible.
Yeah. So just a little investment in sort of slightly better tech and learning how to use it, even on a basic level, makes a massive improvement. So they're the bad habits out of the way, and I can identify with some of them myself. So what would be some of your good habits you suggest that people did use when it comes to facilitating a meeting?
If you're hosting a meeting, and by the way, when somebody says hosting a meeting, you are facilitating. I don't think you have to have the title facilitator on your name card to facilitate a meeting. Any meeting should have somebody leading it, running it. That makes sense. I think the first good habit is engage people before. We have a lot of tools. We have a lot of tools at our disposal. You can WhatsApp people. You can send them a quick video. You can send them a voice message. You can engage with them. You can send them something before. You can send them an email before, whatever it is. But engaging people before they even get on will set a different tone, and you can make use of that. So you don't have to sit there in the meeting for 2 hours and let's say spend the first 30 minutes going through some research. Send people that before. There's some clever ways of doing that, and just make use of the things, make use of the tools before.
So making use of technology and sending some work or some information before meetings, what would be your good habit number 2?
My second habit would be giving people a role. I said before, a bad habit would be talking at people. Well, one way to mitigate against that is to give people an active role in that meeting. Traditional roles would be like timekeeping and things like that. But why not have somebody else share back their take on something or their ideas? So let somebody capture the actions and however they want to do this, or get somebody to facilitate a breakout session where everybody shares ideas for what to do next on the Habitz podcast. Give people a role before, because then when they come in, they know why they're there. So many meetings, I think, are horrible, like absolutely horrible, make people want to leave the companies because people sit there who have absolutely nothing to add. It's not always their fault. They don't know why they're there. So giving people an active role before and asking them to bring something, let them put some skin in the game. I like to always say facilitation is a team sport. I don't think it should be you as a, traditionally in the 90s, 80s, 90s, you had these clever consultants who are facilitating the meeting, or the boss will be facilitating the meeting. I think that's nonsense. I think everybody can play a role. That's why you work together as a team. And then deciding that before, then people come in and know what they're supposed to do.
So we've got there, everyone has a role in the meeting, so they can all bring something, they know why they're there, and they can contribute to the meeting. That would be beneficial. What would be your third and final good habit?
Well, the third one would be prepare a mix of activities. All of you watching this right now, go onto any webinar or live training. You can find them on YouTube. There'll be a whole bunch of examples. Most meetings will be somebody talking with a bunch of slides. There is zero need for you just to have that one activity. That's talking at people. Some meetings will have a bit of a breakout room. So Mike and I get together, we go off for 5 minutes, we come up with something, we come back. But there's a whole bunch of activities and tools that you can use. It doesn't always just have to be talking at people. It doesn't have to be breakout. Why not send people a poll? There's free software, free apps out there. You can send people a poll, and on the spot, you can find out whatever, is this concept a yay or a nay? You can get a quick reading from the room. Why not get them to use, I often do this during a break. I might say, look, it's 12 o'clock now, go for lunch. And during your lunchtime, call your whoever it is on that team on WhatsApp, go for a walk. And I want you to just talk about this one thing. And when you get back, I want you to share back some thoughts about whatever that is. So I make use of WhatsApp. I make use of polling apps. I make use of whiteboards online, which some are free, some are paid for. And I use stuff like this stuff here in the room. I use physical props. And I make sure there's a mix of activities to keep people on their toes, to make it more interesting.
So really, you only have to be slightly better than rubbish to be an improvement on what most meetings are out there. If I'm watching this now and we have a real issue with meetings, especially because of lockdown and not being able to get all the employees and staff together to have meetings face to face, where could we find you if we wanted you to facilitate a meeting for our business?
The easiest place you can find me is on YouTube. Just look up The Magic Sauce. That is sauce as in hot sauce, like spicing stuff up. And I mainly focus on facilitation for innovation. So my, area I like to focus on is newness. I work around innovation projects with clients. But most of the things I talk about, most of the videos I have, it's all about how-tos, tactical things you can do to make it engaging, to make sure you get to output, how to keep the energy right. All those kind of things will be super valid. So go to The Magic Sauce on YouTube. That's it.
So thanks to Joeri for sharing with us his good habits when it comes to hosting or facilitating better meetings. Don't forget to join us next time for some more Habitz Podcast.